A clash of conflicting winds coming from the southeast smashed over 600 houses in London on October 17th. Churches and houses, enclosures and walls were left in heaps. The violence of the winds produced yet another worse disaster. It raised the roof of the church of St. Mary le Bow and killed 2 people there. The timbers and beams were carried through the air, a great spectacle for those watching from afar, but a terrifying one for those standing nearby, lest they should be killed. 4 timbers 26 feet long were driven into the ground with such force that scarcely 4 feet protruded. It was remarkable to see how they penetrated the hard surface of the public street in the same arrangement as they had been laced by the craftsman's skill. Being an obstacle to passers-by, they were cut off at ground level, since they could not be removed in any other way. So after I finished the Enderland video, I was going back and forth on what a more modern tornado event that I wanted to do a video topic covering next. And I remembered while just looking through my list of ones that I wanted to talk about that I actually wanted to talk about this one, but I decided at the time that there just wasn't enough there to justify doing a whole solo video on. There's not enough here for the usual 10 to 15 minute video, unless I just go off the rails ranting for 10 of those minutes. So I decided, though, kind of spur of the moment, why not make it just a quick mini video covering this really obscure but interesting case from 1091. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to go back almost 1,000 years to look at the oldest tornado story I have ever covered. Today, we're going to be doing a quick mini video over a really obscure but interesting case from 1091. This is the story of the violent tornado that struck London in October of that year. The above account that I just read was one of the only few sources from the time of the event that we have. Now, it was not written by an eyewitness. It was written by a man named William of Malmesbury. I really hope I said that right. Like with the Malta tornado I talked about, though, this one, despite being a major event, where it struck and what it did, really is only reduced to little more than a couple of footnotes in history. There's not really many accounts written that include any of the bigger details, which, and like I said there, this thing ripped through a heavily populated area, and it's got nothing else? No one else wrote about it? Really? Okay. The only other main contemporary source we have is by John of Worcester, who was also not an eyewitness. He also had a different day for the event written down, but October 17th seems to be the most accepted date from what I read. About every other thing that summarizes this tornado that I read said that occurred on October 17th. But let's start at the beginning. This tornado, the earliest documented one in Europe, occurred on Friday, October 17th, 1091. Modern ratings, going off what few details of the damage that we actually have, rate this tornado as likely having been around an F4 or a T8. The T8 rating coming from the Toro Tornado Intensity Scale, which measured tornado ratings anywhere from T0 to T11. Now, despite us giving it a modern day rating, that's going off what few details we have. We most definitely do not have any actual wind speed reports or more detailed damage reports, other than the big one being the beams being impaled in the ground. There were no tornado damage assessments or structural damage assessments done at this time in history, obviously, but the beams being impaled in the ground is, even as far as a modern tornado goes, that is a pretty noteworthy detail, and the key one in kind of telling us just how much force this thing was throwing them into the ground at. Now then, our second source from the time describing the event reads as follows. Moreover, on Friday, October 16th, a very powerful whirlwind from the southwest shook and destroyed more than 600 houses and many churches in London. Raging through the church of St. Mary le Bow, it killed 2 men, raised up and carried through the air for some time its roof and timbers, until 6 of the beams, in the same order in which they had previously held the roof in position, were sunk so deeply into the earth that there was visible the 7th part of some and the 8th part of others. They were 27 or 28 feet long. Now, when it comes to the damage that it did, the tornado obviously destroyed a large number of homes. It hit, essentially what was downtown London at the time. It also destroyed the wooden bridge built by William the Conqueror, and it also damaged, as those reports said, the church, which actually still exists today. Here's a picture of it as it is today. 4 of its rafters, which were 26 feet long, were driven so deep in the ground by the force of the tornado that they, stuck out and they had to cut them off, like, tree stumps. We get it. Other nearby churches were also struck, and like I said, the bridge and 600-ish wooden houses were destroyed or damaged. But, amazingly, despite all of that destruction, only 2 people are known to have died, despite the rough population of the area being 18,000 people at the time. Despite all those people being in its path, though, amazingly, only 2 lost their lives. It so easily could have been so much worse. Maybe if even only a couple little things had been different. Anyway, that is about it. Like I said, very short topic for today and way too short to do a full video on, but I did want to talk about it, and here we were. If y'all like these really obscure ones that don't have much detail about them, maybe I can make mini ones a semi-regular thing. We'll see. But I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all soon for another. The next one we're going to be talking about is the 1974 Guin, Alabama tornado. We're going back about 900 years into the future for the next one, so I'll see y'all there. Have a good one, everyone, and I'll be back with another one very soon.